Hi everyone, and today I'm pleased to have Marius and Leo again to share their latest features for Symbolic AI. So without further ado, let's take a look at how we can use Symbolic AI for your command prompt or your shell terminal.
Oh, yes. Hi, John. Thank you again for having us. Let me start off without any further ado. So this time we're going to spend some time in the shell. This is just your regular terminal. If you're maybe not familiar still with some of the viewers, you can just say pip install symbolic AI. This, I have it pre-installed already. Then it basically just installs the basic framework, and now you can just say first time if you would start it. It would basically just get some screen of terms of services and so on of the application. You can say yeah, sure, and then you can walk yourself through the wizard. You can set up a model like GPT 3.5, or you can switch it to GPT 4 if you want. So go through it. Then you might be asked to create your OpenAI key. You can just drop it in here as demonstrated. And there are like several other setup processes for a search engine if you want, Wolfram Alpha, for DALI keys if you have different ones, and so on and so forth. So that you can walk through this entire thing yourself. Then I'll just skip it for now. You'll be asked also if you want to support the community, and we want to train models offline in the future and provide everything like on the edge device if you want. So but you can opt out, of course, and say like no, I'm not interested. And then you can also say like if you want to support us a bit on the open source collective or open collective. And yeah, basically you should be then good to go. So you see here basically now a splash screen jumping up, which you can, all of these things you can basically configure and change. So just to give some people some short overview again, a reminder, there's the symai basically in your home directory. And if you look here, for instance, you will have this symai config JSON and the symshell config JSON. So basically a symai config JSON has all your keys stored in them. And this is basically what I'm going to swap now in the background, because I have a search engine and multiple things set up, which I want to utilize in this video.
So maybe just background for people. So the symwzd basically helps you to adapt your config.json that was showed just now to add in all the keys, OpenAI key, DALI keys, OCR keys, and so on, so that you can do various features, which we will demonstrate right now. So it's very cool. If you have all the keys and all the different tools that you like to use, you just need to configure your config.json, or you can use the symwzd that was shown just now to do the keys. It's very easy to do it. So after you config, you now have a fully functional ChatGPT enabled shell. So let's take a look what you can do. I'm quite excited as well.
Yeah, so now basically, let's say you went through that process. So you have like the sym shell now as a reminder. Now basically it just loads my latest configs and all that stuff. And now you basically can start off with, directly you're interacting basically not only with your standard shell commands, but you're interacting also with your LLM and so on. And if you remember last time, you can just look at the directory, for instance, structures if you want. So if you start just a slash and so on, you get some auto completion, which is okay, nice. But let's dive into the LLM stuff directly. So for instance, you can type in what is the weather in Singapore, for instance, right? And this is basically now asking the LLM in a very simple way. So you just directly start off with a quote. You can also start off with a single quote or like this tick, basically, and then you just write it like, what is the weather in Singapore? And then this is a shell optimized prompt in the background running for the LLM. So it basically answers to you, basically, this is how you would get the weather in Singapore. And yeah, this is how we get the weather in Singapore.
So it doesn't do the running of the shell command automatically?
No.
Copy and paste myself?
No. I mean, you can pipe commands together later on if you want. So if you try, but it's more like, don't trust your LLM. Basically, I mean, just don't run any command that an LLM prompts out. But it's more like, think about it this way: you get some support as ideas. You forget how your git commit works or whatever, with some specific commands and so on in the background. And the LLM knows all of these things for you, right? And more interestingly, if you want to, for instance, to interact with files and so on. So basically you might want to get them like read from a file for you or some other stuff.
Yeah, I think that's reassuring, because if the LM can just run your shell commands, you might delete your entire directory without you knowing. Yeah, so
exactly. So we're not doing that. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
We know the limitations.
Need to copy and paste the command that the LM provides you, so
Yes.
that you can actually do a verification before you do something dangerous. Yeah, but
think of like a more elaborate documentation guide.
It's cool that you can, from free text, get to a shell command. And this will actually help save a lot of time, like, especially for people like me, I don't like to use shell. So if, let's say, you could already have an automated command, all I need to do is to just copy and paste it. It makes using shell much more friendly.
And we're also working on expanding this. So basically that you can write your own macros in the future. So you just can have your own sym macro, whatever. So you saw the sym shell, right? We have some other things that we'll talk about maybe a bit later, but you can also create in the future own macros that you can just have then some automated process that parses something. And if you want, then you can run it, of course, if you feel like it. But okay. So this was just a stateless interaction, what you just saw before, but you of course can also do like a little bit more stateful things. So think about it like you can start a conversation. I don't know what is the meaning of life. I don't know, maybe I wrote it wrong, whatever, it's gonna get it.
42.
So it's exactly. So this is the fun part. So you can start a conversation. Now it says, okay, it's 42. And now, but then now you can follow up because usually you start off with this exclamation mark, marking that this is a new conversation that we're gonna start right now, a stateful one. And then you say like, how do you come to this number? You can just follow up with a dot basically and say like, how do you come to this number? So without any context, this wouldn't mean anything, right? But now it has the history that it knows 42, that gave an answer before, and now it says like the number 42 is the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and so on, and then explains it to you basically how it concluded to this, which is again cool. You can also do a little bit more things. Like you could, for instance, say if you want to like I don't know, explain some stuff, right? Let's say explain the file content briefly, for instance, and then you can pipe, if you want, so a file next to it. So basically, now we have like symai/ and I don't know, if you are interested in our interfaces, for instance, and autocomplete to the interfaces. And now we're starting a new conversation with this exclamation mark, asking it a question, and we're basically connecting this to the interfaces PI. And now you see it talks about the content of the Python module defining an interface class that inherits from expression. So it's kind of explains how it's also built up, and just gives a brief. You can ask more specific questions if you feel like it. And this is how you can basically talk to your files if you want to directly from the shell. What we also can do is, obviously we have various versions of LLMs. Right now, I'm using the GPT-4 preview model, basically with the 128,000 tokens context size. But imagine you have like a huge file, like our README, for instance, is already a little bit elaborate and really a pain to go through, right? So you might want to ask it this, specific questions about it, but you have, let's say, just GPT 3.5 Turbo, so like a base model, which is much more limited context as of I think 4,000 tokens or something, roughly, depending on which version and so on. But now you can ask actually more useful ways, like first of all, maybe I forgot actually how do I get line numbers with less command, for instance. Forgot that actually. Does anyone know? Okay.
What does this mean? Line number with less command? Oh, you mean with the less command? How do you get?
Yes, exactly. So let's try this. Okay. I think has no line numbers. So
you should do the number, I think. Or you can just do head. You can do head if you want to pick like head 10, something like this, and pick the 10 first.
Now I got it. So you see, this you have to do less minus n and then readme. So sometimes you have to bring it to what you want, to be more specific on your questions, but then you get this. So now basically you have, this is what I wanted, 300, whatever, and so on, because what you can do is slicing your files now. So you can basically look at this and say, okay, I don't know, I want to know the section from here downwards to, I don't know, 500 or whatever. And then you can say basically, okay, let me clean up a bit the screen. You can basically start again, give a summary of the following doc, and then basically readme. And yeah, you can see here, for instance, you can slice it, let's say from 300 to, what I said, 500, for instance, or so whatever. And now you basically are slicing through the file and just looking at certain regions. You don't want to read all of that, but now the LLM can basically obviously answer, but you also can do some formatted stuff and so on. And now it's basically looking really into that file just from that region to the, like these 200 lines of the file. So you see, this is kind of useful if you think of it. It can also ask it more profound questions, just of giving a summary. You can ask it to write the documentation for code if you want so, where you can say like, look, these are my functions. Can you write a Python doc or whatever? And then
essentially you can read any file, right? Not just Python code. You can read Markdown, you can read PowerPoint.
Exactly.
Read,
this was Markdown,
PDF.
as long as it's not binary, right? Because even PDFs you can read, because the file reader can read PDFs. But obviously it's a bit more messy than with the representation in a PDF.
Is this auto detect and you use the right file loader for different file types?
Yeah, it uses exactly Tika in the backgrounds in the file engine and so on. And Tika is basically a library that can unpack different types of files. Usually if they're plain text, then you can unpack very easily. But if they're like more like PDFs and so on, we use PDF2 and so on. But there's some libraries in the background.
Yeah, so this means I don't have to read my documents anymore. I could just ask GPT to read it for me on the shelf.
No, but the most important feature that you can that basically you can support to this is the fact that now you can, like, if you, I don't know, if you are like me and you forget how grep is some stuff from grep or you name it, some command, it's like doing man on Linux but on steroids, because you have the large language model right now to actually look up the command that you want to perform.
Exactly. You just have to prompt it a bit to, wiggle it until you get what you expected. And then you basically use your common sense a bit to think, obviously, if the command makes sense, if you're familiar with it, and then like, it's a really helpful tool. We use it a lot, actually, ourselves.
Can I check if your document is very long, do you automatically split into chunks and do rack over the chunks, retrieval augmented generation?
Yes, so we have basically in the background also chunking and so on. I mean, the current implementation of is basically what you see here is the conversation class that we talked last time, which has a very simple sliding window effect in this case. This one is basically just, if it's too large, it chunks it off. So it's basically just streams it out of context. But, that's why I said in the future, we want to make more macros available. People can just easily use our stream functionalities. They can stream chunk-wise if you want, so over the documents, summarize them. You can do wild things. I mean, we have implementations where we do like tree type of representations where we have individual chunks, then you combine them again. So you basically always like divide and then consolidate again up until you get the highest level of summary. But
I think this is very cool because all you need is just one line of code and you can do indexing, chunking, retrieval augmented generation, and you can ask the question here on the child terminal itself. That's actually a huge breakthrough because this actually takes a few lines of code and all this can be done with one line on your terminal, on your shell. I'm actually quite impressed. The only thing I have is, let's say if I have a huge document, right, and I process it. Can I say ask questions over multiple documents? Because like right now I have one document, but if let's say I want more than one, is that possible?
No, that's already implemented. Yes, it's a good question, and you can basically ask right ahead. For instance, if you want, let's say, I don't know, let's start a conversation. What are these files doing? You already can do that because you can just pipe, and then you basically just add
Don't tell me you can pipe the entire directory as well.
I mean, if you're willing to go through it, then sure. Look, it can go for the chat. You have to just white space between, and then you can just take the next one. So you can take the shell, and so on, and you just can go on. Now it looks at both files at the same time.
Nice. But right now it's limited to files, right? So I need to do all the files one by one.
Yeah, exactly. So, but like I said, I mean, I hope the community kind of likes this.
Unless you're indexing.
Yeah, there is rag, and there's like with indexing with files. Like I'll show this exactly in the next demonstration. So
yeah, the other thing I have is like after the output comes out, let's say I want to save it to a document. Is it possible? Or I need to still copy and paste from the shell?
Yeah. So piping,
just
exactly.
pipe it.
Yes, I mean, we're working on this right now. There's some minor hiccups, so that's why we didn't want to promote it this time. But this is exactly where we're heading at. So we want to pipe together classical shell commands with these LLM-based commands. Obviously, it's more involved because you need like a sort of a formal grammar if you want. So because you kind of need to specify when do you start, stop, and so on, and when does the other command come. But we're working on that. So if, like I said, if there are some nifty developers out there and they're willing to help us out a bit, we're open to collaborate on this.
But
yeah,
this is
exactly.
this is already very impressive. With just one line of code, you can ask any question to any file, and I think that's a huge breakthrough already. Can I also check, like when you do the quotation marks, like I see a lot of past commands appear. Do you actually store the memory of all the past queries? Like if you do a quotation mark right now, you can see a lot of previous queries.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, this is these are basically the conversations that I already had with my shell. So basically, we have like every command, like in the regular shell, there's a history, right? History bash and so on. And we're basically having every command available at any point in time again. So, multiple times the same or some variants. All of them are unique, by the way. So it's not copies of it. So it's with different files and so on. But that's exactly what you see here. And you can just browse all of them if you want. And there's basically also this difference. Like we have folders basically are marked as, in this case, violet here, or this higher contrast violet. Files are marked with this kind of like more washed out violet, and then you have just all the other things that do not match, or just are auto completions of it. So basically, you can take a look at it. You can also change this color scheme if you don't like them in the configs that we showed at the beginning with the symshell config. So yeah, there are many options and many things you can play around. Now what I want to
yeah. Can I check also, is the memory like can you reset the memory as well?
You just have to just delete the history file. If you want to do that, you can just go to the I won't do it now, but you can do it if you want. Where is it? History bash history, I think it's called, or something like that. Here it is. Bash history.
I see. So I get how this system is working. Every time you interact with the shell command, the command itself would be stored. The output also, if it's like if it's an output for the shell, it will also be stored. Then you will use that file itself to display when you want it.
Exactly.
Very interesting. All right, so let's move on to the other features you want to demonstrate. Yep.
Yeah. So you asked before, like, what if there's like a full folder or whatever like that, right? You don't want to put every file, like attach it and then talk to it individually, and especially you have a limited context size, so it won't work anyways, more than a couple of files. So the idea was here to use obviously vector storage. We're using the background pinecone. So what you can do is, for instance, just start with, if you already have an index, for instance, I have this index claw, for instance, which is just looking at some legal documents.
What does the star mean at the start? start index?
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for asking. So this is basically starting an index. So we say like this is like a pointer. We kind of like got inspired, you know, C++ if you're a bit programmer in that direction or so. There are like stars are usually pointer references to some stuff. So I kind of tried to use some more intuitive things. Like this is a string, right? That's what it's one single quote. This is like we start something new, it's like attention. We start something new. That's why, and then with a quote, and then we go on. And the dot is basically just the trimmed down version of the previous exclamation mark, right? So that is kind of like follow up dot, right? And
so every time
for
you
this,
do a dot, it will follow up from the previous
exactly.
Yeah, so even if you do anything in between, as long as you do a dot, it will just continue the previous conversation based on that exclamation mark.
Exactly. And the star in this case, for instance, starts an index conversation. This is a separate, if you want, so branch. So now we would have an index conversation. That's why it's also a new session successfully indexed, a claw and so on says, and now we talk basically to this index. Where in this case is like we can ask it like follow up, what is article 24 saying, for instance? I don't know. You can ask this, for instance. Now it looks at the index. Now it uses basically the vector store, retrieves the information, and then it basically gives you back the information. You can also pass on quarks if you feel like it, because you want to see the raw result, for instance. So you basically can say like afterwards, like basically the command minus, you can say minus quarks, but this is shorter, minus kw, and then result equals true. So raw result means this is a special command for this specific indexer. You can pass in any quarks to any other expressions if you feel like. And now basically this is forcing to also display, you see the retrieved content. So you basically now see actually what in memory what was displayed. So you see here article 24, this was the search query that has been optimized. We also use some optimization to tweak your queries. And then you see here basically these are all the like 8 different results. You can even have top K 20 results or whatever. Be aware always of your context size of your LLM. But yeah, so this is basically what you will see here. And now you get the answer. This is just a summary answer of the LLM afterwards. But you could be more specific now, explore a bit and say like, wait, this, I want to know more about this kind of section and so on, right?
Oh, so I realized that it managed to work after you do the quarks. Like now it references article 24. Previously it said that it didn't have article 24 in the first part.
Yeah. I don't know.
Why is that? Why is that the case?
It's your search query always. So think about it this way. So you have the search query thing here, and depending on what you ask it, that's how good the answer you will get basically. So what did it say before? Where it
said that the content for article 24 was not retrieved in the results. But
okay, yeah, this could be because of the LLM. This is just the LLM being dumb. It probably looked at it, didn't understand it, because think of it. This is now in the context of the LLM. All of this, like these 8 different chunks plus the history.
The context will always be the same, right? Regardless whether you put the quarks to display.
Yeah, that's the same. It's
so if I repeat this,
you get the same.
There's some randomness in the output, right? Because right now it managed to display it, but earlier on it didn't.
Yeah, and now it's basically just has, and also think about this. This is now in the history of the LLM twice, because you asked basically in this case just the same question twice. So you're just following up, and probably now it just said, wait, article, maybe he means this, or he had just more text to parse through. And like, I can't guarantee for any randomness that the LLM produces, right? So you can ask sometimes, is this true? No. Is this true? Yes. It's like, okay.
No, but I like this a lot because it means that when you do retrieval augmented generation, you have the option to show what sources are retrieved, and that can actually help you to see whether you get the right sources just with this quarks raw result equals to true.
Exactly. So that's the point, because because maybe you just want to explore yourself. And like I said, I always encourage everyone else to just take a look at it. It's not complicated, and maybe give feedback if you always want to just see the results of the index or never want the LLM to spout out anything. That's also possible, as you saw it, and make it a default in the future if that's more the way of using it. I mean, we kind of wanted both in a way. That's why we kind of enabled this verbose mode, but we don't want it to be always like filling our entire console with this text. So that's why we made it optional in a way, right? So yeah.
Can you also explain the star index claw? So in this case, is claw the name of the document?
It's already the name of the index. So I will show exactly this in the next step.
How
so
do we generate the index?
Exactly. So let me just show you, for instance, I'll do it this time for a short command. So let's say you want to index a new repository, because that's what you can do. You can index entire directories if you feel like it. So you can just point to the path directly, or you can start with this basically prefix git. So basically, when you say git, like you're familiar with, like git at, and then you put in the URL. I'll take a repository that is actually very short because I don't want to spend too much time on indexing it. So what happens now is basically when you say git at, and this is the repository, it does basically clone the entire repository now. And now it basically jumps to that directory and indexes the entire repository. It's like every file that is kind of like in there readable and so on gets indexed. And it's not a binary and so on. So basically it looks at text files, most likely like markdown files, code files, and so forth, right? Yeah, and as soon as the indexer at some point finishes, because right now what happens in the background is Pinecone is triggered, create a new pod. This new pod gets a new name. So the new name will be always the last name of the repository, so the project name. So it's going to be the rig shell, if you want so. So basically, this is going to be then our star index colon rig shell when we reference it afterwards. But we don't have to reference it because it's going to be directly available as soon as the pod started.
I see.
Yeah.
So once you reference an index, it will last for the entire session, right? Until you change an index.
Like I said, you can always change. So you see this is the index now. All indexes remain available. So you can always go now to rig shell if you want, or you can, we're in the rig shell now, or you can go back to the claw and so on. So these are managed by, we manage locally which indexes you have, but it depends on like what you have in your Pinecone, right? So if you have a free tier, be aware you might have only 3 indexes available. Otherwise, you have to pay monthly and so on.
Okay, so to summarize, anything to do with a star means an indexer, and you can switch between the different indices you have created by star index colon, and then you put your index name. And this index will be referenced for every single thing that you ask in terms of the questions. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. So you can ask, for instance, what is this repo about? And then it like tries to, find out. So it says like a repository is named extensity and it features shell style replies. We saw this actually last time as a preview a bit. So the
that was the ending bit for the last tutorial. Nice.
Exactly. So this is kind of like coming full circle. And basically, if you also feel like what is Rick and Morty, you can ask, by the way, a search engine, if you also feel about that, what is Rick and Morty? So for that, we abused basically the question mark, which is like the natural choice.
So a question mark operator means search engine.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, you see, if you, for instance, have like too many results, so then you anyways get a notification that you kind of had an overflow. So you asked me before, what happens if now basically the entire search engine result was apparently so large, it threw it off, or because we're conversing all the time, threw it off. But basically, you're now using a search engine. This is the first part. What happened here? It went to Google, asked about Rick and Morty, came back, and then basically gave whatever result was in the search result. So basically, you can also use a search engine from your shell directly if you have the means and the keys. You can also use it for free. SerpAPI we're using for this in this case with Google as a backend. You have, I think, 100 requests a month, so you can feel free to explore that. Yeah, and I want to close up with let's say Rick and Morty, because what you can do now is obviously you can style your shell. As you just saw it before, so we just cloned the repositories. Now we can also say like symshell style extensity AI. This is where we publish our work. and the rig shells. And what happens now is basically we're booting up the shell with its own flavor. We saw in the last video with personas and so on. And one of the, if you want, so can you give a persona to your shell? And then you can ask it, for instance, how are you today? And give me the weather. Give me the weather again. Like, right? Why not? And now it basically, what it happens is it obviously does the same as before, but in the styling of Rick and Morty, if you want so, or in the styling of, if you want, anything else, right? Whatever you prompted. Oh, I'm fantastic, living the dream in a meaningless existence inside a computer. Like you basically now you can, have a bit fun if you feel like it.
Yeah, this is the shell you go to if you want to be insulted. Yeah, because Rick
exactly.
He likes to be very sarcastic.
Yes. So this is one of the, but you can develop your own. And this is my closing words now. For that, you can just use our dev built-in commands. We have like symdev. You can build our own extensions and plugins, because basically you don't have to code to our repository directly. You can code wherever you want and push it to your own repositories. And you can easily get, for instance, a template where you say, let's say, I don't know, we have, let's say, if you want a SerpAPI theme or so, and then, yeah, okay, it already exists because I created it, but you could put any name like in a GitHub, where you have the first thing being your like GitHub handle, if you want, so your username, and the second part being the project name. And these projects are then, when you create them, available in the symai/packages. So you don't have to push anything to GitHub. You can already use them directly from start. So if you have here, for instance, one of them being the rig shell, the other one being the, I don't know, South Park or so. There's apparently one, and you get already the base structure, how these things look like. So you don't have to like think about how do you do the packaging and so on. So basically what you see here is you get the base structure of the project, meaning that you have a package JSON, you have your requirements TXT, so you can have different requirements per module, and then the source code here. And what's happening here is basically, if you look at this packaging, you see the expression where you have like, basically it's like an interface, all the publicly available expressions, and the runnable expression that basically will be triggered if you run this tool. So basically, as you saw in the beginning, when I said styling and so on, when you run just the rig shell, basically it's like symrun, what was it? Extensity AI, rig shell. So if you just symrun this, then you can just basically, what is the weather? If I didn't do it wrong, then it basically triggers exactly this entry point here. So basically, this is just the first run or entry point of the run. That's all, the whole magic. So we have like, you can run own custom expressions. That's what I said at the beginning, where you can have your own expressions macros built out. Yeah, I don't want to go through the elaborate process of this. I think it makes sense to have a separate video on how to create modules. But for you, John, as you said last time, South Park, we could, if you want, also, give you afterwards, we're going to publish for you a South Park themed shell.
Yeah, no, I mean, until now, I'm still a little confused as to if, let's say, I want to create my own personal theme. Is there a command I can run that can automatically generate the theme for me based on like a sentence or something?
Yes. So sure. That's also available.
Yeah, because let's say I want to create a theme, like maybe the theme could be I don't know, someone that is very cheerful. Yeah, can we have a cheerful shell personality to brighten your day? That kind. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So we have also the shell builder, which is basically, it's just another expression. You just saw basically that was a generic expression that I showed you up here, where you saw just the previous packaging, but we also have like
let's do the simple way. Yep, I just want to use like one sentence to condition the shell personality.
/ shell builder, and then basically if you run this, I think you need the parameters. What do you want to call it? Extensity AI demo shell, I don't know, something like this. Let's try it out. So what was it? The description.
The description.
Yes. So a fun shell to work with. I don't know. So this should be the second parameter. Yeah, and that's basically it. So
nice,
we have
nice. Yeah, y'all have done exactly what I was thinking. You just need to go to. So could you go through the parameters again? So you use symrun, the extensive AI / shell builder. Is that the destination file? Or
so this is basically you can the symrun command would deserve its own video, but basically you can create macros already in the shell. So you can have like symrun and then like a list, so where you have like all the available macros, so that you can, for instance, an email expression that you can generate emails with. Sorry, a demo, what you just maggot. Anyhow. There's several like these commands that you can just basically in the future, if you want symrun be shorter, so you can say like time and then just convert, like we had here as example. Now it basically this uses this extensity time zone and uses basically this conversion like the GMT 8. You're in Singapore, I'm in Vienna, and basically I'm always using also this kind of tool that converts time zones. Be careful about it. It's an LLM-based conversion, so you can't screw it up. But you see, these are basically that you don't have to write out the full qualified name. So this is always like the ID if you want, so like the repository name, so the GitHub handle, that's our structure basically, / project name. So that's what you saw, that very long verbose shell builder thing. I could have also run new shell if you want so, right? I just forgot in the moment what I called it.
Yeah, no problem. I think with regards to creating your own shell with your personality, I'm very sure that there'll be a shorter command in the future. we can definitely do that. I'm also thinking whether or not we could do something like the system prompt in like OpenAI's GPTs, where you can append some instruction. Like if let's say you want to do like chain of thought, you can put let's think step by step, or you want to be like think through your answer carefully and reflect upon every answer. You could give this kind of like meta prompts to make the output generated to be of a certain type, or encourage it to think more. I think we could also use this kind of prompts inside a persona, because the persona will guide like how GPT handles it, right?
Yes. I mean, it's very straightforward. So we just abstracted it to have a separate module because we don't want to clutter our SymbolicAI main repository. So we had this package manager basically built in. So what you see with symdev and symrun and so on, these are just package manager run commands and so on. So when you say symrun and then extensity shell builder, it's basically you use an external module where you say like there is a module shell builder, you import that. So you basically install all the dependencies and all that stuff, and then you just run that one. So if you feel like it's basically a one-liner, symrun extensity shell builder, and then you just give your new shell package what you want to have and the description of it, and you basically just have to edit this file. That's it. So you just have to walk into your created package if you want so, and here is the shell context. So just type in here whatever you feel like, and that's going to be your shell, and then you just run that. So yeah, because it's very simple actually to do it, but if you feel like having a specific command for that, we can build that also in. I mean, it's just taking away commands.
So, my first thoughts on this is that it's still too complicated right now to do the persona generation. So maybe we could have a special command for that next time.
Sure.
But definitely from today's video, I think we can see that just by downloading SymbolicAI, so you just do the pip install SymbolicAI, and you go to the symwzd, which is symwzd. You can configure your OpenAI key. All right.
Yep.
And then after that, you can activate symshell by typing symsh. All right, and you can do all this wonderful stuff already. Maybe you just recap again what are the different things. So if we do like quotation marks directly, it means stateless.
Yeah, exactly. Just some conversations. I'm just saying is conversation stateless if you want. So then state. Sorry.
We just go through all the punctuation marks again.
Exactly.
Just for a recap.
I'm just writing it out. So then the other one would be basically a conversation stateful new. And just if I wouldn't make so many typos. That's the other one. Then you have basically a follow up of a stateful conv. I'm just shortening it now. Then you have basically the search engine query, and finally you have basically the index.
You don't have the quotation marks for index.
Oh yeah, sorry, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much. And that's it basically. Or index, git, add, and then some, HTTP.
This is to create the index.
Exactly. Yeah, well, this first one was to just use an existing one, and this is basically to create a new index from a URL or file folder. You can also put in folders there.
Yeah, so I think it's quite cool because in like 5 minutes, you download SymbolicAI, just set up your OpenAI key. You can do a lot of things like chatting with your documents already. You have your inbuilt chatbot just by using the exclamation mark and the full stop and the dot. Then you can continue your chat. How many past history does it store, by the way, for the stateful? Like how many past turns of conversation?
So as long as you don't stop, it just goes on and on.
Oh, nice.
No, it goes on and on. There's a dedicated file if you're interested in looking at it, which is basically storing your dot conversation state. So basically, this dot conversation state file is basically what we just saw. It's a pickle file, but yeah, you get the idea.
Okay, so you just keep storing until you pass the context length. Then you just take the last few.
Yeah, then it's just floats out. So basically, just or you just start a new, basically with exclamation mark, a new conversation.
Yeah, so I think it's quite good because off the shelf you just need to download this. You can instantly use this to do RAG over your files. You can ask queries about it. You can do search. You can do indexing. So I think this is just like we're just touching the surface of what this can do. We can also ask it to generate various shell commands that you forgot you need guidance on. You can ask it to generate the shell commands for you. So I do think this is something like a personal assistant for you, and you can use
the true ghost in the shell. Huh? Think about it.
Yeah.
For those that know the anime and the manga and so on. Anyhow.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, if you wanted to automate the whole thing, you could also. You could just say like, open up something for me to open up a Python program, or you can just say write a Python program that does swapping of two numbers and save it as this name. You can write this actually, and what will happen is like if you actually integrate this with like automatic permissions to write and save the file, you could do this everything automatically. But right now, because we don't want to give the computer full control yet, okay, it's quite dangerous, by the way, if you give computers full control.
Yes.
So you still have to execute the command yourself. And if you want to write some program, you can ask GPT directly on the shell, like how to write this program. You still have to copy and paste to your program, definitely. But I can foresee that if you really, really wanted to automate the whole thing, it is possible. It's just dangerous.
Yes. We even had experiments on it in earlier videos, right? I mean, you can look up the OS command if you remember that one, or you had like several like where you even develop entire functions and then can execute them. But take it with a grain of salt. These are experimental things that we're trying out. But we know that these things need to mature, need to be more safeguarded, and so on, right? Because you don't want to, like as you said, wipe your entire drive or whatever. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend executing blindly commands.
Yeah. So right now, I like this system a lot because it's secure. I mean, it doesn't overwrite any file. You have to run the command yourself. It doesn't run the command for you. And the best thing of all, perhaps the best feature, is you can just talk directly to your documents without needing to download any extra software. I mean, you can just do it on your shell command.
Yes, exactly. So that's the neat part. And like I said, we're working hard on making everything like on the local machine. We actually have already like concepts for local indexing engines. We have also like working on fine-tuning and so on LLMs and the next versions of looking how to avoid having this round robin in the internet and so on, especially for on-premise softwares and so on. So like I said, if you feel any heart or so, or like this, at least give a star or anything, or maybe if you feel like helping us out or so, it will be amazing to make this more accessible, more robust, and more wider range for all the features and ideas that we have here.
Cool. Yep. So I think we have reached the end of the video. Just one round. Any other things to share?
We can go on for hours with details and so on, but I think we'll just keep this for the next video. As you said, keep it shorter. And next time we're gonna also play around with some new interesting features. We're currently working on also refining the backend and so on. We had some criticism also from you, who had criticism of it was a bit too convoluted. And we're already rewriting. We've already like 90% rewritten to make it more accessible, and to make it easier to extend also in the future, especially in this modular systems, because that's kind of where we're heading at. We're thinking about a bit larger picture here, like having this platform of compute where we have this decentralized compute modules that you can just pull, and then everything works off the shelf. Yeah, just kidding. But yeah, that's kind of the bigger picture here. So yeah, I don't know. Let's see how things evolve. We're also are part of the Open Collective now with Symwzd, so we moved the repository to Symwzd. This is kind of a brand, if you want. So and trying to make this commercially also successful. That you can easier.
If not, yeah, thanks so much, Leo and Marius, and I hope to see more interesting stuff. And I think this is a very great start. I can imagine lots of things that could be built on the shell terminal, and you could definitely do a lot more. Like you could do even simulated voice, you could do image and stuff. Definitely all these things are possible. In fact, I think it's possible now. We just didn't show it because all you need to do is to just run the specific tool of which you already have the API for. You can do all these things on your shell. And yeah, I look forward to having more updates on this. And for those who have not already started the GitHub, please do it now. All right, do not hesitate. The link will be in the video. All right, and yeah, bye everyone.
Thank you, John. Bye.